Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining me. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Helen Dimmick. I'm a jewellery specialist, I'm a gemologist, a diamond grader, but I've worked in the industry for many, many years, and so I hope that you can benefit and share from some of this experience. So today we're going to be looking at creating and managing high performance teams. And so therefore, this webinar is for all sorts of people, for business leaders, business owners, team managers, but also for team players as well. So I hope you'll all get something out of it. As I say, plenty of opportunity to ask lots of questions that we'll certainly go through at the end. So in terms of content, I'm going to just keep it really nice, and this is such a big subject. So I want to sort of make sure that it's really user friendly and that we can really just get to grips with some of the most important aspects of leadership. And then we're going to look at what it is that makes a good team. So you can't have a great team until you've got a great leader who's taking you in the right direction. And then what are the essential ingredients to make a good team? And we'll look at those pillars of performance. And then we'll take a little bit of more light-hearted moment and we'll look at some of the experience that I've had over the years. So leadership, as I say, you don't know where you're going unless you've got somebody who's really inspiring you and who's really directing the ship. I want to point you to somebody that I really like the work of. That's Jack Welch. Sadly, he passed away this year, but he was the CEO of GE in America, General Electric, for many years. And he wrote a great book. It's called Winning. And I really recommend this. And these are there's 8 factors as to what he thinks makes a great leader. And I've really enjoyed these over the years. So here they are. Leaders, first of all, they relentlessly upgrade their team, using every encounter as an opportunity to evaluate, coach, and build self-confidence. So coaching is just so important in developing and maintaining teams. Leaders make sure people not only see the vision, they live and breathe it. And we're going to talk about vision. That's really important. Leaders get under everyone's skin, exuding positive energy and optimism. And I think this is one of the reasons that Boris Johnson's maybe sort of really connected with a lot of people, whatever your political persuasions are. It's because of his optimism at this particular time. Leaders establish trust with candor, transparency, and credit. So be who you are and live up to that. Leaders have the courage to make unpopular decisions and gut calls. It is really hard. You know, you go into management, it isn't easy at all. So, you know, you have to make those difficult decisions and you have to action some things that are really difficult. Leaders probe and push with a curiosity that borders on skepticism, making sure their questions are answered with action. We have to do these things when we're in these positions. We have to just ask the right questions. We have to find out what's going on and really get under the skin of a problem. Leaders inspire risk-taking and learning by setting the example. So I think it's very important that we all act as role models when we're in these positions. And then finally, leaders celebrate. And hopefully at some stage soon, we'll have the opportunity to celebrate as well. So what I've wanted to do is look at those factors, and I've pulled out from there 3 essential points that I think are factors in which we can all use when we're creating and managing high performance teams. And these are critical. They're trust, communication, and vision. So we're going to break those down and just go through those this morning. First of all, and think about how a team develops. You may have heard of this. This is the 4 stages of team development: forming, storming, norming, and performing. And this is the stage that teams go through every time you start a new team. And if somebody leaves the team, or if you get a new member, you start the team from the beginning again. But you can only direct your team through this if you've got those coaching factors, you've got that communication, you've got that trust, you've got that vision. So it is about getting those goals and directions, finding what the roles are, assigning responsibilities, and creating an atmosphere of collaboration and trust. It's very interesting. We were talking. I'm part of an entrepreneurial group, and we meet once a week via Zoom, and they were talking about this and saying that this is what they've been going through individually and personally at home during lockdown. So with their families, with their partners, they had to form a new team where we used to be working in a workplace, and now they're at home, and there've been lots of storming going on. But hopefully now we're all moving forward, and we've all actually we're getting to the performing stage personally as well as professionally. So this is a big slide, but this is trust in a manager. And this is something that I start off with whenever I go to a new organisation. I always show them this because this is something that I think is really important that we live up to. So it's a big slide, but let's break it down. Trust is essential to management organisation. And we know that if there's trust in place, it increases the level of morale, it reduces absenteeism, provokes innovation and the adjustment to change. So especially when we're going back to a new normal, as it's being called, this is really, really important. Whereas if you don't have trust in the workplace, you're more likely to have reduced morale, increased staff turnover and low productivity. But guess what? Your team won't trust you until you trust them. So let's break it down. And what it does is this slide, it shows you a table. It shows you how a high trust manager will behave and how a low trust manager will operate. And it shows you that in terms of information, influence, control, and expectations. Now, we can't help it, we're human beings, so we often default to the low trust. But if we're aiming to be good, a high trust manager in terms of information will share their values with their team. They will ask for feedback on them. They will explain what it is that forms those values. Whereas a low trust manager might hide the real agenda. They may feel concerned or afraid themselves. High trust managers allow other people to influence. They ask for other opinions and they really rely on other people. They accept their concerns, but they allow them to help in the decision making. Low trust managers will resist the influence of others. They're suspicious and they reject other people's opinions. In terms of control, a high trust manager will really believe in empowerment. So they'll depend on those people that are working with them. They're very comfortable delegating, they're not micromanaging, and they're not also over depending on them. Whereas a low trust manager minimises the dependence on others and often imposes rules to replace judgment. But as I say, a high trust manager clarifies their expectations, they live up to it, and just as they expect other people to live up to their expectations as well. And a low trust manager is unclear about how they operate and what they expect. And the worst thing is they make exceptions for friends. Now, as I say, it's really easy to default into the low trust, especially if you yourself in that leadership role are in an environment where you can't operate with your manager exerting trust with you. So what I tend to do is I always put this where it's visible in the workplace so that any member of staff will know what to expect of me and vice versa. And I find this is the first thing I introduce to talk about that pillar, that format in which you want to work. So let's talk about communication. Again, let's break it down. Communication is a massive subject. So we're going to talk about what good communication is. We're going to talk about feedback, giving and receiving. And we're also going to talk a little bit about coaching too. So we're not going to be able to operate in a trust environment if we can't communicate. So how do we communicate with trust? Well, there's a simple model. It's called the adult-to-adult communication model. But let's just think about what that means. So we can think about our personality in 3 different ways. 1, how we were as a child, what our thoughts and feelings were and how we behaved. And that's called the child ego. How our parents thought and feel and behave, that's called the parent ego. So you're either a parent yourself or you've learned from your parents. And then there's the adult thoughts, feelings and behavior. And we call that the adult ego. So what does it look like if you're in an environment where this parent ego is dominant? Well, it's very judgment based. You know, it's always you for once and for all, you're always doing this. It's a little bit aggressive, it's judgmental, it's unsolicited comments or advice. Now, it can also be the nice side of parenting, which is the nurturing, very, very protective side of it. There's also then the child ego, and that's the emotional one. That's really physically rolling eyes, raising hands, shrugging your shoulders. Oh, it's not fair. Oh no, not again. Things never go right for me. So again, a lot of emotion. The adult ego state is problem solving. It's represented by being attentive, interested, straightforward. And it's non-threatening and crucially non-threatened. And you obviously see when people are communicating, like their head's tilted on one side, they're really, really listening. It talks with reasoned statement, asking open questions. Why, what, how much, who, where, when. It says reasoned statements such as, well, probably and possibly, or based on what you've told me, I therefore think, or I believe, or in my opinion. Adult communication. And the thing is, we all get stepped into communication patterns and we call these parallels. So for example, if somebody speaks to you like you're a naughty child, well, you're going to come back and speak to them like they're the parent. If you behave like a child, you can't help it. Somebody will come back to you and talk to you like they're the adult. Equally well, the child behaviour breeds other child behaviour in other people. If you talk to people like an adult, they will respond to you like an adult. But the key is, at the beginning, people in your work environment may be talking like a parent, or they may be talking like a child. So if they're talking to you from parent to child, it's really hard, but you need to break that barrier, break that resistance, that pattern of behaving and talking like a child. So it's saying to them, okay, I appreciate what you're saying, but this is maybe making me feel like such and such. Can we talk about this? And again, if somebody's behaving like a child, it's not talking to them like a parent. It's saying something like, okay, appreciate that you feel this emotion. Let's talk about this a little bit more. And, you know, it's about, as I say, asking those reason statements and getting to a place where it's adult to adult communication. So once you've got the communication right, you've got this trusting environment, all of these things work collectively. And this is about this feedback. And this is so crucial to a motivational workplace. This has been designed to have been the real factors that unearth what it is that motivates people in the workplace. And guess what? It isn't actually the money. It's things like this. Do you know where you're going? Do you know what is expected of you? Do you have a good job description? Have you got the materials you need to do your job right? Are you in a position where you can do what you do best every day? Have you received praise and recognition? Does somebody seem to care about you? Are you being developed? Are you allowed to influence? Do your opinions count? Are the people around you committed to doing quality work? Do you have somebody you can trust and confide in? And in this past 6 months, has somebody talked to you about your progress? And have you had the opportunities to learn and grow? So this is a great exercise. And whenever I go in somewhere new, or previously with all my businesses, I've always had this in place. To start off with, you need to do it perhaps once a month. And I would suggest that you ask every member of your team these questions. And then you document the answers. And here I've just given you a little spreadsheet of the team that we were working with at the CMJ. So you ask the members of the team to respond either with 0, 2, or 3. So 3 if they feel really positive, 2 if they're satisfied with it, and 0 if they feel negatively about it. Guarantee you they'll all say, oh, they want to put a 1 in. And the 1 is because they want to say 2, but they don't want to offend you because they still haven't built up this trusting relationship. But it's key that it's crucial that they're honest with you. Because then what you can do is you can see there's 2 sets of totals. You can first of all total up on the right hand side, and it allows you to identify those staff who aren't feeling very positive. And second of all, it allows you within each one to look at where you've got an organisational issue. So for example, when you're adding up the staff, you'll see that points 23 to 36, that person is engaged. That's great. 11 to 25, they're not so engaged. And 0 to 10, they are actively disengaged. And you're going to need to make some decisions about those people. But then also add up the columns. And you may find, for example, a recurring pattern. If 10 and 11 are very low, you perhaps haven't got a development program in place. If 1 or 2, you maybe need to look at your job descriptions. But it will really help you data sort and prioritize which are the key factors to look at. Okay, and then coaching. Coaching is a huge subject. Not only would it take up one webinar, it would take up days of training. But this is one book that I've used in the past, and I believe we're now on another edition. But this is Linda Richardson. And what's great is it links coaching to sales. And it talks about changing you from being a sales manager to a sales coach. And it's really got those great behavioral skills that you can apply to any part of your business. It's a very digestible read. You can read it in just a couple of days. It's really light, it's really engaging. So I'd really recommend that one. Okay, forgive me while I have some water. Now I'm going to move on to vision. So again, we've talked about the environment, we've talked about how we're communicating, but we've got to think about where we're going and why. And unless we know where we're going, we can't motivate our team to take us there. So I'm going to talk a little bit about how you create a vision. And I'm going to use a case study, which was Green and Ben's. So I'm going to talk about the mission statement that we created, our company values, and also how we brought this to life. So again, a long read, but this was our mission statement, and we wrote it together with the staff, and it broke it down into the store, the stock, the staff, and the customers. But here, I've just highlighted, our team is the soul of Green and Ben's, who will nurture an environment that rewards excellence, creativity, enthusiasm, and commitment. Now, don't be afraid to go back and evolve your mission statement, but I think it's really great to have one of these. And say, for example, with the stock, there was a policy that we had and everybody knew what we wanted to buy and why. So it was great that everybody was singing from the same hymn sheet. We then took the time, and all of us as a team broke that down and created what we wanted to call the Green and Ben's experience. And this was all about what customers were to expect when they were to shop with us. A warm welcome and no pressure, so no hard sell. Trusted authority and expert advice, so lots of training and investment in the teams. Award-winning designers and bespoke jewellery, that's what to get from the stock. An unforgettable experience and a lifetime of stories, that was all about the follow-up we'd give. Exceptional value and best price. So it was all about the value you get from the experience and what our pricing policy was. Interest-free credit, a loyalty card, peace of mind and enduring relationships. The important thing was we came up with that together. But what we then did was we personified that throughout the store. So for example, the enduring relationships, the slide at the picture on the top left is our wedding wall, and that was customers' names and the date that they got married, all branded with the plus, but they were part of that unforgettable experience and a lifetime long memories. By the door, which was very open to allow lots of people to come in. There was the awards, there was the agreement, the experience, so we personified it, service and celebration, a lovely space. So all of those values, we looked at how we personify them in the store. But crucially, I always think of my customers as internal customers and external. So this was all about the team and how they could bring this vision to life. So for example, the trusted authority, we would have their certificates up in place. The slide on the right shows you actually did a feedback day with a customer. But I don't know if you can see on the top right of that picture, you can see the champagne flutes. And we had these champagne flutes with everybody's name on it. So again, that was part of the celebration, but it was part of including them in the vision. But this is what I love, this little mug. I just set them an exercise and I said, you know, there's so many pieces that you can now merchandise and personalize. And one of the girls, Victoria, who you can see there, made us all individual mugs with a motto on it that was unique to us. It was branded with the Green and Ben's logo. Helen, it all adds up to a cup of tea nobody can make. But she did something on all of them. And it really, as a team exercise, it really brought everybody together with humour, with a bit of fun, but it really did help. And the fact that a member of the team just came up with this, I was absolutely delighted. And as I say, you can do this now. There's so much personalisation of so much merchandise, bags, water coolers, all sorts of things. It used to be mouse mats and tape and coasters, but there's all sorts of things you can do with your team to define your vision and then bring it to life. And this was how we would bring it to life with our customers. So for example, we had a loyalty card, the values were on there. A lifetime of memories. We've got the travel jewelry box. So again, you'd always have that sort of those thoughts with you. Brochures and cards that we would write to them. So again, define the vision and bring it to life. Now, Jack Welch has written a really good experience. So I am not on Jack Welch's level, but these are some of the things. I've done my own 8 points of what I have found and has really served me well. First of all, hard on issues, soft on people. The number of environments I go to and I find the absolute opposite. I find that nobody's telling people honestly where they stand. They're talking behind their backs, but they're being really, really nice to their face. So just have the courage to talk to people honestly and openly and directly about what the issues are. You don't have to do it in a nasty way. You can be very, very polite. You can be very understanding, but for goodness sake, talk to people. I don't know if it's an English thing in the way that we do it, but I think it's really important that we just engage with people in an adult to adult, mature way. I put here, create a safe non-PC space. I don't have a very PC sense of humour, and you have to be really, really careful. And over the years in management jobs, I may have cracked a joke that I thought was, well, not very funny, but I may have said something, and you can't do that. But it's equally well, if we're not careful, I think PC's gone a bit wrong. So with your trusted colleagues, with your team members, and where it's okay, define that space. So when I was at Green and Ben's, we used to have a top floor conversation. It didn't have to take place on the top floor, but it just was code to say that that was a conversation that was maybe a little bit more lighthearted, but it meant that we didn't take it too seriously. I'm passionate about this next one. If it's gone wrong, I'll take responsibility. If it's gone well, the team will get the praise. So what that's saying is, really, I do believe that if I've done well, then my team have done well. But if something's gone wrong, it might not be my fault, but it's my responsibility to sort it and own the problem. And we'll work it through together, but I will work it through until we've got the right solution. The fourth one, anybody that knows me, I've been told never to play poker. And it's really funny when you start to see yourself on these webinars, and I can see it now. My face tells you everything. So one of the things that I've found is people know exactly where they stand with me. And I've always been that sort of person that people will tell anything and everything to. And that's fine, because it won't go any further. But I do think it's important that people know where they stand. I don't care what mistakes are made, as long as they are points you can learn from. Again, this has always been a mantra for me. So an example again, at Green and Ben's, I had a member of staff who came to me mortified. They're doing the stock count, and they had found the smaller bracelet, a tennis bracelet, with the larger diamond price on it. She therefore had realised that she herself had actually sold the larger bracelet for a lower price. I was so delighted that she just actually told me. It saved so much time, it saved so much concern, and it saved us a lot. The trust was really there. So we talked about it, we made a note of it, we moved on. She was so mortified she'd never do it ever again anyway, but it was just one of those lessons that I'd rather people would tell me. But 6 is sometimes hard. Get the friends boss balance right. And it is hard when you've got your own business and you've got a family business there and you've worked with people for so long. But it's one of those things that you are always the boss, and you do have to make those decisions sometimes that people don't like. So getting that balance right is absolutely key. Be who you are. Be transparent, honest, with humility as well. I think one of the greatest lessons as leaders is we make mistakes. And again, all we can do is learn from them. And as I say, it goes back to what you see is what you get. But also just be who you are. I love individuals, and with so many characters in this industry, and it's so great that we can all just be, again, who we are. And then finally, recruit talent and excellence. You should lower the average IQ when you walk into the office. And this is about any successful team, any successful business. You really do have to recruit talented people and surround yourself by brilliant people. I love the idea of this. You walk into the office and you lower the average IQ. I love finding people that are better than me at so many things, which they so are. But, you take the example of the CMJ team, their communication skills, their people skills, it was just from their organisational skills, just phenomenal. And it was a privilege to be part of that. Okay, so that's a lot of information in a short space of time. But I hope there's things there that just you find maybe thought-provoking or something that can start a bit of a conversation. One of the things I will say is that they all work together. You can't just do one without the other. And there's so much more to this. But if you've liked aspects of this and you want to do more, let me know and we can keep developing it. Because as I say, these webinars are ongoing. And to that end, what I wanted to do was just talk about something I'm working on with Simon Wilson from Stonehawk. We're getting prepared now. Thoughts are beginning to turn to going back to work. And we're all sort of awaiting Boris's, we understand, his announcements on Sunday. But there's a couple of key things, and that's going to be the mental health awareness on yourself and on your team, and also security logistics. So Simon, Daniel Darwin and myself are preparing a webinar to look at logistical and mental health challenges, and that will be delivered next week. But until we do that, we'd really like to take the rest of this week to hear back from you. So could you email either myself or Simon with any questions you've got on security and any issues you've got on mental health? And we will put together a webinar, and as I say, we will deliver that next week. The timing of this has had to be crucial. We've wanted to make sure that we didn't go in too soon, but as it's on people's minds, we need to look at it. And I know that the CMJ are looking at logistical support as well. Amber's working so hard with PPE, and they're constantly communicating. So let's pull this together. Okay, everybody. I hope that was okay. Let's have a look at some of the chat and some of the questions. No, the IQ in the room. Simon likes that. Yeah. Okay. Let's have a Let's go back to the Q&A. Oh, where's my question gone? I think I've just managed to delete the question. There was one there. You see, I've dismissed it. Harriet France, I feel so inspired already. Thank you, Helen. I have so many great ideas I want to implement now and when we open. Oh, France, that's lovely. And, you know, as I say, please, if anybody wants anything, contact me. I can help them with the trust model, with the motivational analysis in terms of how that has worked as well. So just either email me, give me a phone call or a text. Yeah, just whenever you're ready. Okay, everybody. I think there's another one. Yeah, another question's coming in. Good question. How do you deal with a defensive member of staff when giving constructive feedback? That's a brilliant question. It goes back to this. You've either got probably a child or an adult response. It's going back time and time again with an adult response. So you deal with them and say, okay, I understand this is really difficult for you. Talk to me about what it is that's hard. Now, actually, I've got a lot more information on giving and receiving feedback, Emma Louise, so I'm happy to send that to you and go out with you again. But it talks a lot about the right environment, the right way to phrase feedback as well. So we can talk about that a little bit more. Where will the link be to rewatch this webinar? So what I need to do is I edit the videos, and then normally they're ready within about 24 hours, and they will be available on my website. So that's www.helendimmick.com. You just click through to the webinar pages and they're all there. And then also Fran will be sharing out the link. Gemma Murphy, hoping to work on the vision before we start. Would love more examples if you are happy to share. Would like the team to come up with info, but we're good to have a guide. Yeah, absolutely. So I'll point you in the direction of other webinars that I've done. I think a great one would be, it's all about rebranding on lockdown, Gemma. I think you'll really like that one. There's a lot of work there about things you can be doing now, but it's also about bringing the vision to life. And I tend to think about that in terms of the store, the stock, the staff and the customers as well. So I think have a look at all the webinars would be really, really good. Another question, Laura, just secured a brand new team this Christmas and we're working really well together. I'm worried I'm really losing this connection lockdown. Any ideas to keep us bonded? It's a really good point, Laura, and absolutely. The thing is, you would have started that team and you would have started on that journey, you know, the forming, the norming, the storm, you've gone through all of that. You are starting back at the beginning when you go back. So it is all about, I'd really say I'd use the motivational analysis, get their opinion, because you get their ideas. First of all, do it for 1 month, see what that looks like, and then keep doing it till everybody is actively engaged. But you'll find that they will tell you the answers. And again, listening is the greatest skill. So ask them to do that motivational analysis. You can do it online, so you can do it during lockdown. See what the feedback is, and then if you want any help, you know, going through that, just give me a shout. But that is always the best one. Then when you find everybody's engaged and everyone's gone through all those questions, I find the next thing to do is to just write new questions and just see, because you've moved on, or ask them to write the questions as well. They're brilliant questions, so I hope that's all helped. That's perfect timing, actually. I do like the fact that these are bite-sized and don't go on too much. So I'm going to close it there and say thank you so much for your support, your questions, your attendance. Really enjoyed that, and I will speak to you all very soon. Take care, stay safe.